Hello and welcome back to Let's All Laugh At, the football podcast that thrives at the expense of someone else. I'm George. I'm joined tonight by Dan Andrew. Thanks for joining me, guys. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's weird that the season's going to be starting in a couple of weeks and we've just finished the current season.
Yeah, I'm really good. Really good, thanks.
Awesome.
He's a Liverpool fan, obviously he's good. He's just one of
They haven't played in about the same amount of time as we have, though. So, you'd think the hype would have died down. Well, I don't know. Has it died down a little bit, Dan? I'd like to think it has.
I wouldn't say it died down particularly, no. We played Saturday in a friend, like I said, so yeah, things are up again now.
Oh, excellent. Well, so yeah, obviously there was no recording on Thursday. A combination of scuppered plans and upcoming fixtures made us think there was no point doing it that night. We pushed it all the way back to here now that both the Champions and the Europa League finals have wrapped up, so we can actually talk about them. So we might as well start with the big guns, the Champions League final, PSG against Bayern Munich. Bayern coming through with a 1-0 win in the end to lift their sixth European title, level with Liverpool. Obviously coming through after that, incredible 8-2 against Barcelona. And then I've completely slipped my mind who they beat in the Lyon, that was it. Sorry, yeah, excuse me. And yeah, obviously I thought, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but PSG going through against obviously the Atalanta game we talked about, and then beating Leipzig in the semis. So yeah, I'll start with you, Andrew. I thought the scoreline was somewhat deceiving in the sense that I thought it was it was in the sense that it was an even game, but I thought it was quite an entertaining game as well, despite the number of goals. I thought that PSG really held their own.
Yeah, I think, they should hold their own. Their strike force is ridiculous. Well, yeah, I think they were a bit wasteful. Neymar and Mbappe both had some good chances. Manuel Neuer was very good, which always tells you a bit about the game. That, I think there's been a lot of questions about Manuel Neuer ever since, if you remember the South Korea goal at the World Cup 2018. People have been questioning if he's the same keeper as well. I think he showed that he's back to form this year. But for me, I feel Bayern deserved to win. I think tactically, with the front three of Lewandowski, Koeman and Gnabry, they were a bit more efficient with the way they used the ball, and I think they deserved. To be honest, Bayern, I think they won every single game this year in the Champions League. So
they've won as many Champions League games as as Palace have Premier League matches all season. So work that one out.
How could I guess that you're going to relate it to Palace?
Well, it's hardly in a flattering way.
Yeah.
I thought I'd level the playing field a little bit.
I do hope, though, that, to win 6 times as well, the whole story is crazy, that they were 4th in the league. They just lost at home, I think, they lost to Frankfurt at home. They sacked the manager, and this guy's come in and they've just blown everyone out the water, and they've been by far the best team, if everyone's honest. So yeah, I think it's a well-deserved victory for them. It was surprised they're level with Liverpool now. So they're putting themselves as, I think, joint second, isn't it, behind Real Madrid?
No, I think it's AC Milan. They've got something like
got 9, isn't it?
It's something like that, yeah. But after that, then it's yeah. No, absolutely. And Hans-Dieter Flick, I'm almost certain I butchered that pronunciation, but that's the Bayern manager who you're referring to. Dan, Bayern, we talked so much about Bayern's dominance in the Champions League, if you like, and we said, a couple of weeks ago that they looked the most complete team and were certs to win it. That ended up being true in the end. But for PSG's point of view, a lot of people would have said that they, obviously Andrew talked about their forwards and how they really should have competed with that front line. I agree. But at the same time, they have struggled at points in the Champions League this season, particularly against Atalanta, scraping through in the end. But they have, I thought, against Leipzig, who are no slouches, and in the final themselves, I thought they looked a lot more convincing.
Yeah, they did. Like Andrew touched on, really, a fantastic side. Certainly man for man, and they've become a lot more of a team this year, PSG. So yeah, I was impressed with them throughout, really. Not as impressed as I was with Bayern, like I said, as we touched on again earlier on. Yeah. The unbelievable football team. And it's mad to think, I went over to Munich last year and watched us beat them, Liverpool beat them. And it's pretty much the same team in a hell of a lot of ways. And they were not even close to where they are now, a shell of this team. So the manager's done an unbelievable job. But yeah, as for PSG, yeah, just fell short again, haven't they? And they always seem to for a long time now. Admittedly not in the final. Yeah, weird one with them. It sounds like Thomas Tuchel might move on as well, what I was hearing today. Because there is only so much you can do there. The same for Neymar, Mbappe, etc. Because whether you like it or not, it is still a bit of a farmers' league, that French league, in my opinion. Even though Lyon did okay and PSG did obviously really well, outside of them, it's a pretty poor league, in my opinion. So, but yeah, obviously a better showing from them all round, but still they fall short and got nothing really to show for the season again.
Can we really call it a farmers' league when the 7th best team in their league beat Man City 3-1?
I think that Man City game was a bit of a flash in the pan. Lyon have troubled Man City previously, and I think Pep Guardiola, my favourite person in the world, he overthought that a little bit, and he kind of played into Lyon's hands by setting up his team completely differently. If Pep would have treated that like Man City against, with all due respect, Brighton in the Premier League, they'd have probably
no respect on this end, don't worry.
But you know, if he'd just treated Lyon like the mid-table Premier League type club that they probably are, they'd have probably hammered them. But he changed everything. He changed everything about the way Man City go about their business. And Lyon, who have got some good players, clearly, upset them. I think their league campaign was a bit disrupted by Memphis Depay being injured for like most of it. I think in real terms, had he been fit and had they finished the season, they might have finished a bit higher than 7th. And I take the point, but I still can't get excited about the French league, really.
Well, there's also the fact that the French league ended prematurely, of course. So, for all we know, they could have gone on a run, and especially with Depay and the like coming back after the suspension, if they started around the same time we had, and they may have doing a lot better. But yeah, I do take your point. I agree with that. I certainly don't think we're in any position to call them a farmers' league when, like Andrew said, we're not doing nearly as well in European competitions. But at the same time, the football's probably not that up to standard, and I know for a fact the crowds definitely aren't up to Premier League standard. But yeah, as for the Europa League final, we said that we wanted, Andrew, I remember you saying that the Europa League needed an Inter Milan versus Manchester United final. It's not what they got, because United were taken out by Sevilla in the semi-finals. So this is 2-for-1 for you, Dan, in terms of good results. And they ended up beating Inter Milan in what I thought was an even better final, certainly a lot more goals, to win their 6th Europa League in a row. No one's won it more than them, and it's just a remarkable record that they've got.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the thing that shocked me the most is that Luke de Jong was on loan at Newcastle for 6 months, and he was absolutely dreadful. I went to Southampton away.
Was it not CM de Jong, or am I thinking someone is getting them mixed up?
We had both. We've had both of them. We had
okay.
We had CM 2 years, and he was atrocious. So for him to see him scoring in the Europa League final is a crazy. But yeah, I mean, Sevilla are specialists. They've really made that competition their own. They have a specific style of play. They've knocked out Man U, I think, twice now in Europe in recent years.
Yeah.
Once with Mourinho and this time with Solskjaer. So I mean, they're always going to be there or thereabouts in terms of getting to the latter stages of the Europa League. So yeah, I mean, I thought Inter would win, but I mean, Sevilla really have made this competition their own.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, there's been a lot of talk about Inter. There's reports coming out of Italy from variously reliable sources that, Conte might be on the brink of losing his job. I think he's done quite well personally, getting them to, I think it was 2nd in the league, Champions League place at the very least, and then to a Europa League final. It's, I mean, considering how inconsistent they've been over the past 10 or so years as well, it seems like a bit of a, dare I say, a bit of a Chelsea move.
Yeah, it's not like the Italians to overreact, is it, for a manager? It would be harsh, in my opinion, because Inter Milan, like you touched on, they've challenged for the first time this year for a long time, really. They've been in the doldrums a little bit for quite a while, for such a big club, especially because for years it's been the 2 Milans, Lazio, Roma a little bit, and obviously Juve, but for a long time now it's kind of just been Juve.
Last Italian team to win the Champions League as well, Inter, under Mourinho.
Yeah, but there you go. So they were, especially, and they kind of got back to where they were a little bit this season, because there was a title race for a long time in Serie A. I think the break in football, Juventus kind of came back a lot stronger than the others and just ran away with it, but up until that point it was quite close. So yeah, if they were to sack him, that'd be extremely harsh. I thought the final, de Jong, that was a mad one. He scored and he knocked United out as well in the previous round, which was nice.
Crazy. Some players are terrible for some teams and incredible.
Well, I mean, you look at Gnabry, really, Serge Gnabry. Tony Pulis, as much as he's been ridiculed for what he said, he kind of had a point at the time. Like, he wasn't very good for Arsenal or for West Brom on loan. And he's gone on to do what he's done. And the same for that Choupo-Moting at PSG was horrendous for Stoke, really. And he scored in the Champions League semi-final the other night, I want to say, if not quarter-final. So, yeah, players can turn things around. But, yeah, them Inter Milan, I was impressed in general with them. Bit of a Premier League old boys team, isn't it? But, yeah, they're very harsh if they sack Conte, definitely.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think that it does show the expectation of some of these big clubs sometimes.
I think Conte talks too much, so his whole issue is he just constantly is saying, I need more players, even though he got like a £75 million striker in Lukaku. They brought in Eriksen, but he doesn't really fit into the system. They have spent a lot of money, but he just keeps moaning and moaning, saying, I need more. I think his classic quote is that he goes into a €100 restaurant with just €10. That's what he loves to talk about. So, yeah. So I think maybe the Interboard
at Chelsea. I seem to think he did the same thing at Chelsea, didn't he? Yeah.
I think he was annoyed they got Danny Drinkwater, which I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all for that one. The transfer policy at Chelsea has been inconsistent to say the least, but we'll get onto that very, very shortly for sure. But speaking of managerial changes and managerial sackings, biggest one at Barcelona, obviously, after that absolute humiliation against Bayern Munich, 8-2. I'm not going to make the joke that everyone has been throwing around because I'm sick to death of hearing it. But I'll be honest, I'm blanking. I'm a bit like Andrew, I'm blanking on the old manager's name, but now he's gone. And Ronald Koeman has replaced him, ex-Everton and Southampton boss, of course. Certainly a lot more success at the latter than the former. Got them to 7th and 6th place in the Europa League. But Everton, got them 7th in his first season and then was sacked after leaving him in the relegation zone. Had to get old Big Sam Allardyce to get him out of it. So Dan, this is a bizarre. I mean, I know he's a club legend, but it seems a strange appointment, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It was Quique Setien, the old manager.
That's the one, yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, it is a strange appointment when you look at the Everton job in particular. Obviously, that's the one that stands out, isn't it? Especially when they spent a hell of a lot of money when he was there. But they've been spending a lot of money under every regime recently, Everton, so it doesn't really matter that. But yeah, they were particularly poor towards the back end of that spell. But yeah, like I said, he's a Barcelona legend, and maybe sometimes we've had this at Liverpool. We had to appoint Kenny Dalglish for a little bit. Sometimes you need a bit of a legend to almost bring a feel-good factor back to a club. And after getting beat 8-2 and things generally not being very good, maybe that's the way to go for a season. By the sounds of it, he's only going to get a season regardless because they have the presidential thing over there. And the new president gets appointed, I think, next year. And he's already said, apparently he's already said he won't keep Koeman in a job. So it sounds like he's going to get a year maximum, really. So, yeah, it's obviously a strange one. He's done a good job with Holland, in all fairness. He's got Holland kind of back on the map when they were dwindling a little bit. But yeah, it sounds like he wants to keep Coutinho, like we mentioned before we started, which would be interesting, considering his career was kind of done at the Nou Camp.
How can Coutinho, Messi, and Griezmann play in the same team?
Oh, I know. Yeah, but the Griezmann.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, forget Coutinho. Griezmann and Messi clearly don't work. Griezmann's had an appalling season for someone so good. So yeah, it's a classic case of just throwing players at a squad and hoping it works.
It's like, talking of players, Martin Braithwaite went from Middlesbrough, struggling for Middlesbrough to play for Barcelona.
Yeah, I know. They signed him on emergency, didn't they? I think it was Levante they brought him from. Because they had an emergency signing thing in Spain, don't they? And they brought him in. I think Suarez was injured and a couple more. But yeah, no, the Koeman one, it's obviously when you look at his Everton job. But I do think he got sacked from Everton because he had red baubles on his Christmas tree, and the fans did not like that. So I think that was half the reason he got sacked from there. But yeah, we'll see with the Barcelona thing. I can't see it happening. Can't see it working myself. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, what Dan touched on there, only giving him a year to sort of get any success there. I mean, judging from all the signs coming out,
he won't get a year.
Well, that's the thing is that I think, I mean, my only rationalisation with this appointment was that he'd be brought in to sort of try and build a younger spine of the team. That was very much his idea at Everton, very mixed success to say the least. And obviously with Holland, that's what he's been trying to do there. So, I mean, and we've seen as well the stories coming out, the likes of Luis Suarez and Arturo Vidal are almost certainly heading out the door. Koeman has made it clear that they're not in his plans at all, which is definitely going to be interesting. Some very good players for anyone to snap up there. But I mean, those seem to be the early signs of what he might be trying to do and what Barcelona probably need, because they haven't got the youngest squad in the world anymore. But if he's going to be given a year max, then that puts that all into question. It's sort of like, what is their aim here?
I think they need to replace some of the old guard. So I think PK, Sergio Busquets and Suarez probably need to replace them. That's probably one of the key things. Defensively, they've been all over the place this year, and it showed in that 8-2 game that they're way too open. So Busquets is a brilliant footballer and has been an excellent player for Spain and Barcelona, but they do need someone who can hold the midfield a bit better. I know they've brought in Pjanic from Juventus in a swap deal with Artur. I think they really need to make sure the defender, and Messi needs help. They need to stop doing this. The tactic is give the ball to Messi and hope for the best, because if he has a bad game, or if he's closed down, or if he's a bit quiet, or if he only scores 2 goals, then they're not. So they need to move, because Messi before had Xavi, Iniesta in the first team. The second team he had Neymar, Suarez. He needs help. He can't do everything on his own if they want to win the Champions League and wrestle back that title from Real Madrid. He does need some help. He can't do everything on his own, even though he can really. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that's probably where they were going for. But again, with the amount of time that if it is true that he's not even going to get a year or only get a year, then it seems a bit. My point was that it seems a bit counterproductive for that. But I suppose the other thing to say is that even with their age, there's a lot of teams out there that could use players like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll see like some of the top clubs going in. I'm sure the Italian clubs. I think everybody would like Luis Suarez still. He'd still score 15 to 20 goals in the Premier League. Vidal is a bit of a weird one because he's getting on a bit. But yeah, I think like Luis Suarez, everybody would. I mean, the problem as well is they're on ridiculous wages, which only 5 clubs probably in the world can pay. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Suarez as well has been linked with David Beckham's team into Miami.
Yeah.
So
I was going to mention they could both, Suarez in particular, could both end up somewhere quite random, like in America or Qatar or somewhere like that.
Yeah. One last payday.
Yeah.
I've got to say, I think Luis Suarez doesn't get enough credit because he's been kind of the support foil for Messi since he joined. But he's one of the best footballers we've seen in the Premier League. So, yeah, he has been a great player, despite his biting.
That's the problem I was going to say. His issue, obviously, is his actions a lot of the time. That's why you kind of forget how good he was, because you kind of just think of the bad stuff. Like with a lot of people.
The goals against Norwich were incredible.
I've never known one man take the piss out of one football club so much in my life. Aguero does it to us. He's a fantastic footballer, but every time we played Norwich, he just was a man possessed. It's as if he thought, and he has no background knowledge of English football, you'd imagine. As if he thought, this football club do not deserve Premier League football, and I'm going to show him every time. It was a joke, like, honestly.
Yeah, I think everyone has that. Every striker has that one club, and every club has that one striker that always scores against them. For us, it was Jermaine Defoe.
Maybe has a team.
Yeah, he did, but not with us. I forget who it was.
He used to be us. He used to score against Liverpool every week. Every time he played us him.
Yeah.
And then we bought him. He was awful.
And then we bought him. He was good. We used up all his energy. At least we got a season out of it, I suppose.
I think we bought him to stop scoring against us. I think that's what it was.
Probably. That was probably it.
Newcastle signed Ryan Taylor. I think he had 4 career goals. Yeah, we had 4 career goals. 3 of them were against Newcastle.
He scored some very good free kicks back in the day.
Yeah, he was a good free kick taker.
He broke a leg badly, didn't he? That was a problem.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you guys remember Jermaine Defoe's volley for Bournemouth against us a few years ago, where he gets it just about outside the box. A bit like Kasami, but pretty much from the exact same spot from Fulham. Similar goal to that one.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, far too many world-class goals have been scored at Selhurst Park over the years. Not all of them against Palace, to be fair. Some of them against Wimbledon, like David Beckham's, famous halfway line goal. I'm so glad that wasn't against us because it makes it a lot better to look back on. But yeah, I mean that's our one strike. I think he has something like 7 goals in 5 games, his last 5 games against us, something ridiculous like that, and even more before then. So I'm very glad he's not in the Premier League anymore because it doesn't matter how finished he was, he'd always get at least one against us. Yeah, I still remember that 4-0 against Sunderland. Oh my god. He literally just got 2 right on the stroke. We were about 1-0 down, about 5 minutes to go to half time. Next thing you know, it's 4-0. It's just, I mean, well, but we won't dwell on that. We'll move back to the Premier League and we'll move back to the transfer market because it's been heating up a fair bit. Still no massive deals confirmed yet, but Chelsea certainly look to be on the move. The Ben Chilwell one is probably the one that's it was reported to be closest to completion. I've seen reports that there might be some snags in the deal, but if it was to go through, you're looking at about 60 million for certainly one of the most talked about left backs in the league, and obviously England's starting left back. And you've also got there's a lot about Thiago Silva from PSG was confirmed on the Champions League yesterday. He was going to be leaving. Chelsea looked the favourites to sign him on a free transfer. And then obviously the big one is Havertz at Leverkusen, which apparently there's finally close to being a breakthrough. I mean, I don't trust anything until I've actually seen the player in the shirt personally, but it looks like that one is drawing significantly closer. So we could look at Chelsea signing 3 players for about 130 million total. I mean, Dan, you must be a little bit worried as a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, it'd be silly. It'd be better not to be really because they're 2 incredibly good signings. And the one I'm missing out is Thiago Silva. Despite how fantastic he's been, I do think the Premier League, he might struggle in some games next season if he does sign. I think some games he might, because he's going to be another, few months older, soon. And I think he might struggle with the pace a little bit, potentially, the Premier League, week in, week out especially. Yeah, obviously, it'd be silly not to worry because, like I say, Kai Havertz in particular, I'm very disappointed to get in him. He's a fantastic player. Ben Chilwell for 60 million. My God, what is the world?
I don't even think he's that good. I mean, he's a decent player for sure, but
he's a good footballer. But 60 million. I mean, Leicester can basically name the price like they've done previously with Harry Maguire. They're not daft, and they've got good money for him. So credit to them for that. But Chelsea paying that, and what's going to annoy me is Chelsea are going to justify all this spending by saying they've not spent money for one transfer when they wish they didn't, but they still bought in Pulisic at the same time, and they still agreed a deal for Kovacic at the same time. And now they're going to spend, if it carries on, with Werner, Ziyech, and these 3, you're looking at 250, 300 million. It's a serious amount of money.
They need another centre back. Thiago Silva's a good signing, but I think they need another one.
They need a goalkeeper.
Their biggest issue, the goalie's a big issue as well.
Yeah.
If they sign Jan Oblak next week, then I start to think, hang on a minute, this is serious. But if they carry on with Kepa, I just think they're too flawed. I think they're still too flawed, and maybe a centre back could solve some of them problems, but just Thiago Silva doesn't do it for me. Going forwards, they're going to be phenomenal, but you've got to be able to defend. We found that for years. We were amazing going forward for a long time before we bought Van Dijk and Alisson. And they're the 2 that won us the league. As many goals as we scored, you need to be able to defend. And Chelsea at the minute can't. So, no, not overly concerned right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think to be fair with Thiago Silva, I think what Chelsea have been missing pretty much since John Terry left was a real leader at the back. And I think that Silva would bring that. Again, whether or not, his age is always a thing. But then again, Gary Cahill was able to come to us. And I know it's a step down for him, but he was still able to do a very good job despite his age. So, Thiago may have a similar effect. And I still think, if he can get it to even, 3/4 of his best, he's still a very, very good centre-back in my opinion and will improve that defence massively. But I think you're right. I think that ultimately, well, again, the comparisons to Van Dijk as well, like, Van Dijk was very much that leader at the back that you needed when you got him. But I think you're right. I think that you're right. That the goalkeeper is the other key piece of the puzzle. And until Chelsea can get their own Alisson, which they have been looking at names, there've been a lot of names that have come up, but nothing seems to be close yet. So until that's sorted, I think you're right. If they do start with Kepa for whatever reason, then I think that they're probably just a bit short of being title challengers so far.
Kepa can obviously have good games. I remember in the FA Cup when Liverpool played them, they knocked us out. He was brilliant that night. And you don't buy a £70-odd million keeper who can't have good games, but he has too many shockers, really, for it to warrant his price tag, certainly.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the problem with, especially when you're a top club and you're a title contender, is you need consistency.
It's got chocolate finger wrists.
He's not big either, does he? He's not very big for a goalkeeper.
No,
he's not very big. He looks like he should play attacking midfield. He looks like Oscar, doesn't
he? Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, I suppose with the one angle you can take with this about Chelsea's transfer policy is that there was all this big fuss about when Lampard was in charge about, finally using Chelsea's academy players and bedding in the youngsters properly. And now that they've actually got money to spend, now they're actually able to spend money again, that seems to have just gone straight out of the window. I mean, not all the players that they brought in are not young. But, I've been seeing reports that they're looking to let the likes of Tomori go out on loan, and now that Silva's come in. Billy Gilmore, obviously Abraham's probably going to leave now.
Conor Gallagher's coming to Newcastle.
Yeah, we've been linked with the likes of Gallagher. I don't think we'll get him personally, but we are definitely one of the names that's been brought up. But yeah, players like that.
His loan fee's too big for you.
I can't wait until I can't wait until Eze is there in a Palace shirt, and then I can just finally shut you up about how bad we are at signing players. Well, shut everyone up about how bad we're signing players, including half our fan base, because we're all sick of it. But yeah, back to Chelsea. It very much seems like that approach is out the window by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I think once the money, if you're bringing in Timo Werner and spending, X amount million on Kai Havertz, youngsters aren't going to get a chance. The thing is, Lampard knew this season he would have a leeway because he didn't have money. But now with him spending this much money, people will want that gap between Liverpool City to be closed a bit. And for me, I still think it's great. I don't really get the Ziyech signing, if I'm honest, because for me they need defenders. That's their biggest issue. Till they learn how to defend, they won't do anything. So, and Lampard himself, his Derby team was very defensively weak as well. He really needs to, bring in a specialist coach or do something to protect that back four better. It'll be interesting to see what happens with N'Golo Kante as well, because obviously he's had an injury-prone season this year. He might be one of the ones that moves on. So it'll be interesting to see if he can bring in someone to keep that defensive structure.
Yeah, I think whoever gets him is getting an excellent defensive midfielder, one of the best we've ever seen in the Premier League. I've been saying at the time when he was at his peak in his Leicester and Chelsea games, I said at the time he was the third best player in the world just at the job that he did. I think if he was doing the same sort of job, they're getting the same sort of performances at as in an offensive position, there'd be no doubt people would be talking about him alongside Ronaldo and Messi. But I think that obviously, you say, injuries have been a problem, and I think that he's not suffered. He can only do so much for the team, and if the back four isn't good enough and the team as a whole is just inconsistent, then he does offer that extra layer of protection. But I think in the right team, he still has a lot to give, even if he's not quite as good as he used to be anymore, because that is a high standard.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how he sorts that midfield out as well. So I just don't get where's Havertz, Pulisic, and Mason Mount all going to play in the same team?
Yeah,
it's a frightening one, but you're right to pick up on the pressure thing, because he's going to be under pressure now, Lampard, and he wasn't last year. It'd be interesting to see how he reacts to that. But I've seen a couple of mock-up Chelsea lineups, with all the new signings, and it's great in terms of the front seven, but anything behind that, even with Thiago Silva, you look at it and think, yeah, you can probably get at that still. So there's still a lot to be done there, but it's exciting for them, obviously.
Yeah, no, for sure. I suppose there's definitely pressure on him to deliver early though, otherwise the whole thing looks like it was all for naught. But yeah, on to your team, Dan. Obviously, the only real talking point for you for a while has been Thiago of Bayern Munich. That seems to have gone a bit cold.
Oh, I'm not sure. I think I still see it happening. If I'm honest, I think we're kind of letting last night happen. So obviously he was involved last night. I thought he played okay actually. A lot of people were raving about his performance. A lot of Liverpool fans I've seen. I wasn't sure he was phenomenal. His pass to set up the move that created the goal was really good. So I was impressed with that. But yeah, I wasn't sure overall. I watched him quite a lot throughout the whole Champions League final stages, obviously. Yeah, I still think the move happens. Apparently he told the club he still wants to leave, despite what happened last night, because I think Bayern was still holding out hopes of keeping on to him. But now it looks like he definitely wants to leave. Still find it a bit of a strange move from our behalf, but because we don't sign players of that age, really, generally, in the past few years. But yeah, it's a strange one.
How about Ricky Lambert?
Yeah, well, that was a different era altogether, fortunately.
I'm joking.
Well, I suppose the argument is with the youngsters you've got coming through, the likes of Curtis Jones, etc., that maybe they need that more, seasoned, experienced European winner to sort of help coach them a bit.
And do you know what? And the way I've been describing it to a lot of people now is, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. So if somebody like Thiago wants to come to Liverpool, which by all accounts he does, you don't turn it down, especially when, even though Liverpool are haggling about the price, surprise, surprise. I shouldn't really criticise because that's what we do, and we're very good at it, so I shouldn't really criticise, but, I think it's 29 million, something around that mark, and for somebody who's just started in the Champions League final and just won the Champions League, you just pay that sort of money. We've just been talking about Ben Chilwell for 60 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Not half the player Ben Chilwell is. No. So, you've got to get it done, really.
Yeah, I think that is the main separation point, is valuation. I don't think Bayern want to go below it, but I think that Liverpool, knowing that he wants to leave and will push a move, will probably want to get that fee down just a little bit, because we know how crafty they can be in the transfer window.
Yeah, there's no way Michael Edwards is the guy who deals with these things. He doesn't back down on this sort of stuff. And he was the man who got 20 million for Dominic Solanke, so I'm backing him.
Yeah, I'm all too familiar with holding out on players in order to get a reduced fee, and trust me, it can backfire. So definitely want to be careful about it. Although you are definitely in a much stronger position than we are. So Andrew, I suppose we might as well, over today, Newcastle confirmed the signing of Jeff Hendrick. I bet you're thrilled about that one. Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, he's a good midfielder. When I went to Burnley and Newcastle about 2 years ago, he scored the winner, and he played really well, to be fair. But it's just very uninspiring. It's a free. There's especially after a takeover where you think Coutinho and top players are going to turn up, and then you get Jeff Hendrick. But he did go for, I think he went for close to 12 million when Burnley bought him. So to get him on a free is, just no brainer, to be honest. But it's very difficult to be inspired at all at the moment, when pretty much it looks like we're going to be the same players this season as last year. My one thing is, if we lose St. Maxim, I will be gutted. He's the one who I like watching play. So if we lost him, I would be gutted.
Have there been that many rumours surrounding him? Have there been any reports?
I think Arsenal are looking at him, but obviously they've gone and got Willian now, so it's unlikely. I think they'll get. I mean, the Willian deal, 3-year deal for a 32-year-old. Just Arsenal, very interesting.
Just Arsenal for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for Arsenal, there's been all the talks about Gabriel, but still nothing finalised just yet. Although the deal is reportedly getting ever closer. So yeah. That's about all in the transfer window. I suppose the only thing really left to gloss over is the fixtures, the Premier League fixtures, because we were meant to record this on the day they came out, but obviously it hasn't quite worked out that way. But they're out now, so I guess we'll start with you, Andrew. I think you start the season at West Ham, so yeah.
Terrible stadium, terrible atmosphere.
Well, at least you won't be in it this time.
The only good thing is you get to go to Westfield on the way. That's the only good thing about West Ham Stadium. I'm not surprised the fans don't like it and blame, say they lost their club the moment. I mean, Yeah, I mean, I've been there twice, and it's not my favourite stadium. Though Upton Park also was a dump, so it's an improvement.
We just can't please you, can they?
No, I mean they you're so far away from the pitch.
Yeah.
It's like,
To be fair, have you seen the away end at St James's Park? It's like you can barely see
the
the
away
bloody
end
thing.
High.
Yeah.
They're with gods. That's where they belong. All the Newcastle fans deserve the best seats. But the worst,
okay.
I think, to be honest, the worst away bit is Everton's, in my opinion, because you can't. It's just a horrible view. The Everton away bit.
Yeah, I have been to Everton in the away end, to be fair, and it wasn't the best view. I thought at least we were going to get a decent atmosphere because it's an old school ground, but we didn't get that either. I was really disappointed by Everton.
Arsenal's, I feel like I'm flying on Emirates. So much leg room. It's incredible.
I mean, that's one of my favourite away days, Arsenal, because of the result, because of how great our fans were. But it definitely has nothing to do, and it's a nice ground, but definitely, the home fans were definitely not up to standard, in my opinion. So I can understand why a team wouldn't like it, especially if they lose 3 or 4-0 or whatever it is. But Dan, Liverpool home against newly promoted Leeds. That's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm quite glad about that. It's a shame, like you touched on there, we've not been able to go for a while, obviously. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the Leeds one. It's a difficult one. We've got a difficult start, actually. I think we got Leeds, Chelsea and Arsenal in the first 3. And Leeds' first game will be buzzing, obviously, as you can imagine. I think 16 years since you're in the Premier League, something like that. So they'll be very excited to be back. And they look a very decent side. And Marcelo Bielsa, for someone who currently wasn't managing the Premier League, is very well thought of. So there must be something going on there. But I'm obviously I'm excited. I can't believe how quickly it's come. Obviously, it's mad. We played the Community Shield on Saturday. It is just mental how fast it's turned around. Yeah, and I think the Boxing Day fixture is always the one I look to more than anything.
Yeah, let me just pull that up quickly. West Brom at home, so at least it's not away, considering how much we've talked about how bad that away day is, at least for you guys. But yeah.
I agree with the Everton standpoint on the away. By the way, it's not just because it's Everton either. Just what a dive that away ended. It's awful.
Their stadium is a dive. I'm glad they're moving.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if any of you noticed, like the stand, the biggest stand. I forget what it's called, but the biggest stand they have right opposite the away fans, like the very top tier. It looks like it's about to topple over. Like genuinely, I was worried, like how crooked it was. It was just going to collapse.
90 stadium. It's not.
It's very old school. Yeah.
Very old school. It's just not very I mean.
But then you go to the opposite end of the spectrum, and like you say, your Arsenal and your West Ham, and that West Ham one's is farce. It's not a football stadium. But Arsenal's a bit too.
Tottenham's is incredible. Arsenal's is it's too nice. Like I said, I feel like I'm flying. Too much leg room.
That's the problem. That's not football for me. But in terms of the Boxing Day fixture, West Brom could have been a bit more. We were Leicester away last year on Boxing Day. That was nice. Could have been a bit more of a showpiece event, the West Brom one, I suppose. But so be it. I think we play Everton. Everton fans are moaning this week because we play them quite early on in the season when there's probably not going to be fans, and then by the time they come to us at Anfield, there probably will be fans. It's all a conspiracy, obviously, against them. I think everyone's just looking forward.
Yeah, Pickford will throw a couple in.
I think everyone's just looking forward to getting back. I'm surprised on the Pickford thing, actually. Everton haven't tried to sign a keeper, but
he's got such small arms. He can't catch.
No, I know he's dreadful in my opinion. But West Brom should beat them.
Yeah. Well, as for, I mean, I can't comment on Everton's ground, to be fair, as a Palace fan, where we have just as bad views, if not worse. I mean, I feel at least the atmosphere is a bit.
On the tube and the overground as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. You can't even go. Yeah, exactly. Well, I've said we need a southern. Well, it'd be good to have a southern tube for a while, but I mean, I guess not that many people use it, given what sort of area it is. But I mean, anyway, speaking of Palace, our start of the season at home to Southampton. They're a team that we never beat at home. Have won the last 3 against us. So I'm tempted to say that this is probably the worst draw we could have gotten. I mean, at least Man City or Liverpool away, there'd be no pressure on us whatsoever because everyone would expect us to lose. But Southampton, you're at home on the opening day, even with our record, we're expected to win. And then after that as well, we've got Man United away, Everton at home, Chelsea away, and then Brighton at home for the derby. So we're very likely to have only 1 or 2 points after 5 games, because again with the Brighton fan as well, especially with no fans, or very likely to be no fans, and we even when we win, we never seem to turn up to Derby. So I'm never confident about those games. But maybe we'll
start that.
It's a difficult start. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too worried about in terms of staying up, because I think the thing about us, particularly about Roy Hodgson, is every time we've been in a bad spot, if we need results, he's got them. I mean, obviously the end of last season was awful, but we were already safe by that point. Whereas I remember we had that season before last, we had that awful start to the season. We didn't win a home game or score a goal at home for about 3 months. And then we, like in 2019, we were like the 3rd best team in the league behind like Liverpool and City and Spurs, or 4th best team in the league, something like that, ridiculous like that. And, we finished on our record points. So, I think we'll probably have enough in the tank to stay up. And with our run in as well at the end of the season, we've got Arsenal at home and then Liverpool away on the final day. So that'll be interesting for sure. May have a say in the title race. Probably not the relegation battle. I think we'll probably be safe by then. But yeah, it's a tough run in, and before that as well, we've got a couple of difficult teams. So we really need to have as many points on the door by mid-March as possible, really. But again, I think we always get the points from where we need to. So I'm not too worried about that. I just hope that we can, I don't want to be worrying about relegation for the first few months of the season. So hopefully we can get enough points on the doors early on.
It's so boring, isn't it? This is what I find as a Newcastle fan. Like, the only thing that will make me happy is if we stay up. Like, that's the only target we have. It's just so frustrating. It's like literally, I don't know how clubs survive like this forever. I mean, at least I have, I can remember us challenging for the title, playing in the Champions League, I can't imagine what it's like for other teams who've never had anything like that.
Just say our name, for God's sake, Andrew. just speak to me directly, for God's sake.
To be fair to you, you've been to a cup final. So, but there's clubs that have done, like, literally nothing. It's just
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Palace fans always say, well, if we get relegated, what we've got to show for it? Well, like I said, we've got a cup final. We've got these years. We've won at pretty much every stadium except I think Spurs are the only place we haven't won in the league, and we've even beat them in the cup a few years back. So, I think we've got more to show for it than people think. But I think what ultimately people want is Europa League. They want that 7th, 8th place finish. I don't blame them. I'd like that as well. But I think that with the wage structure we have currently, until that's shifted and until we can sell the club off to people who can afford to put more money in, then I think this is about the best we can hope for. And I would rather see us just, changing our approach off the pitch, bringing in younger players, playing a style of football that suits the ones we've currently got. I think
you put Harry Kane on corners.
Sorry, did you hear something, Dan? I thought I said something.
He's never played tractor football, has he? So that's not going to happen this year.
Well, you say that, but the first season he was in, when we had players like Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Johan Cabaye, we played some of the best stuff I've ever seen at Palace. I'm being dead serious, but obviously since those players have gone,
Cabaye's a brilliant footballer.
Well, exactly, but since
I still nearly, like, when I heard that he's going to Palace, I was like, what the hell?
It's amazing how we thought he was our highest. He was our record size for 10 million, our record signing. Imagine that now. That was only about 5 years ago as well. But yeah, it blew my mind at the time, and it was such. And the thing is, he did well. I know at Newcastle he ended on a bit of a sour note, but he always seems to. He even streams the Palace games nowadays.
His goal against Liverpool was incredible, and his free kick against United.
Yeah, got a great one against Arsenal as well.
One bad thing was that he moved to PSG when he was never going to get in the team. That was his best. He could have moved to lots of different clubs. So he went to PSG when he knew he wouldn't get in the team. That's his one error. But yeah, great footballer.
Yeah. I mean, that's my point, is that since we've lost players like that and haven't really replaced them, Max Meyer hasn't been used, maybe isn't the player we thought he was, but since the players have got worse and haven't been replaced, the football's got worse. Don't think there's any secret. I think that if we do bring in better players, the football will get better. But at the same time, it's hard to argue against Roy Hodgson's tactics not being the most creative in the world. But again, he has shown with good players that he can play good football. He's at Palace, so it's a bit of a weird one, really. But yeah, let's move on to the Let's All Laugh At. For those who are new joining us, this is where we each pick one moment in the week to have a bit of a laugh at. And so we'll start with you, Andrew. Have you got anything?
No, I just found the stat. There's two funny stats, I think, which has come out of the Champions League final. The Kingsley Coman has won the league every single season he's played football, I think. That is an incredible stat. 3 different clubs. And obviously scored the winner in a Champions League final, not too bad. And then that stat about Alvaro Odriozola, who has won 5 trophies this season, but played only like 600 minutes or something like that. So he's winning a trophy every 120 minutes because he was at Real Madrid. They won the league, the Super Cup, and something else. And then he's obviously gone to Bayern and won 3 trophies. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's just amazing how many players. I mean, if you're using trophies as a measure of how successful a player is, then you've got players like you say who only play about 10 games a season and end up with about 7 trophies through their whole career. Like, it's unbelievable. Whereas you've got people like Harry Kane who've been scoring so many goals in the Premier League and not won a thing yet. So it's quite incredible when you look at it like that.
He won the Audi Cup, don't forget.
Oh yeah, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, fair play to him. But Dan, what have you got?
Harry Maguire for me.
Okay. I was wondering if this was going to get brought up.
Yeah, it had to. I couldn't leave it there. And laughing at it might be a little bit crass, but
his sister was attacked supposedly by an Albanian thug.
Really, that's new.
That's what everyone's saying. Yeah,
but
it was self-defense because his sister was being attacked.
Really, well, that'd change things slightly potentially, but still, why get involved? Why? He's had a hard time as it is, in my opinion. It hasn't worked particularly well. I think he's been actually quite poor at times, and he shouldn't relate back to football because he's got nothing to do with football. But obviously, being a footballer, it does. He's just had a really, really bad season, in my opinion, and this kind of just tops it off. And people were laughing at him anyway for looking the wrong way when the opposition score half the time, and now he goes and gets himself arrested whilst on holiday. Just laughable situation, really. And if it's self-defence and there is something more to it, then hands up, fair dues. But as it stands, I just heard he'd kind of got himself in a fight and then tried to bribe the policeman who was arresting him for him to let him go. And I think it actually looks quite serious. It's aggravated assault he's getting done for. And when his lawyer was asked if he was free, he replied saying, "Yeah, right now he is free," as if implying at some point he might not be. Listen, I don't want anyone particularly to get arrested, unless they deserve to, obviously. But imagine it. Imagine he had to do some sort of sentence. I don't think. Who was a footballer years ago? Duncan Ferguson had to go to prison whilst he's playing football. Troy Deeney, who's been to prison before.
Yeah, he was in prison. Got to the year he got to the playoff final.
Joey
Barton, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
He was on his ass.
Harry Maguire could be the next one. And imagine it in Greece. But yeah, it's just like I say, the situation is not ideal. It's a little bit crass, but
I remember Lee Bowyer and Jonathan Woodgate. Lee Bowyer played his best football actually when he was on trial. He had his massive trial. That's his best form for Leeds.
There's been a few down the years. I seen somebody else, I can't remember who it was, like a mid-90s footballer with him, either went to prison or, I want to say Eric Cantona, but that was probably just like Crystal Palace thing.
Yeah, Jermaine Pennant tagged, didn't he?
Yeah.
When he was at Birmingham, I think. He's a bit of a strange one. I mean, it's really funny. He's on TalkSport now, and I'm just like, can you really give advice to anyone? You was like, you didn't like. Fair enough, he was the man of the match in the 2007 Champions League final, but for his talent,
that's
love a controversial character. They got Trevor Sinclair on. I mean,
the Trevor Sinclair is another.
You've got Andros Townsend on. He's been useless for like a whole year.
Yeah,
he might as well be a pundit for them now rather than a footballer. I kind of wish he was.
Quite well spoken and like quite sensible. Whereas Trevor Sinclair was literally like in a lot of trouble for some quite nasty things at one point.
Yeah.
I think, for me, TalkSport, basically, if you have one charge, then you become an attractive proposition.
Well, I think it's mainly about clicks, isn't it? Players saying outrageous, hypocritical things for the position they're in. That's going to get loads of shares, isn't it? That's ultimately the media's game. I mean, I won't talk too much about TalkSport or the whole Maguire thing because I think we don't really know too many of the details. So I think it's best we leave it until the case is actually finished before we make any real judgments, especially if he turns out to be innocent in the end, or at least not as guilty as Some people are making him out. Yeah. Some people are making him out.
He's already guilty of joining Man United, so.
Well, good point. And Man United are also guilty of paying a ridiculous fee for him.
And guilty of looking the wrong way when the opposition score. Don't forget that.
And guilty of making him captain. Yeah. We could go on, but I'll move on to mine. I'll move on to my Let's All Laugh At, which is, I suppose, more laughing at PSG, but I'm sure you guys have seen the footage of the Marseille fans marching through the streets. Social distancing officially out of the window. But they're celebrating, obviously, PSG's Champions League defeat, because not only are they massive rivals, but Marseille, to this day, still the only team in France with the European Cup. So, yeah, definitely a big deal for them. And I thought that, I don't know if you've seen HLTCO's pettiness thread on Twitter. It's just a bunch of clubs doing the pettiest things against their rivals and fans and all that thing. I might link it later. It's so great. But that went on there, and I thought that was a good moment for that. Yeah, so, the thing is, there wasn't actually that much. I don't like voting for my own thing, but there wasn't that much really to nominate the thing. I think the stats that you brought through, Andrew, even though they're incredible, they're not really things to laugh at necessarily, as much as, just how incredible they are in general. And then, like you said, the Maguire thing is more up in the air a bit for now. So when it's concluded, and if it turns out that he did something stupid, then I'll happily take that one. But I don't think it's really that appropriate. All the picks haven't been that great this week, to be fair, but you make do with what you can. So. But yeah, that's about all we've got time for. Thanks for listening to this episode. Be sure to drop us a like and a follow, whatever platform you're on. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify at Let's All Laugh At a Football Podcast, as well as Twitter at LALA_podcast. Be sure to check out Dan's work on Last Word on Sport and Extra Time Talk. Be sure to check out our social media. Links in the description as always. Thanks to Dan and Andrew for joining me. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.